All right, hello, welcome back. I've always wanted to do a lecture in a British accent, just for thrills, make myself sound more authoritative, but I'll try and I won't do that. All right, so next bone we're going to talk about here in the next cranial bone, the temporal bone, and you have two of those. All right, so you have one here on the left, I'm highlighting in blue, and if we look over here on the right-hand side, there's the temporal bone over on that side. All right, and so these are fairly complex bones. They have a number of features. If I rotate the skull and we look here at the underside, you can see that portions of the left and the right temporal bones are involved in forming kind of the middle section of the floor of the cranium as well. And there are lots of holes and openings in there. You've got a lot going on there in the temporal bones, and you do need to know the identities of some of those openings, and we'll talk about which ones you need to know and which ones you don't need to know. Okay, left and right. All right, let me rotate this one around over here on the right-hand side. First feature on your list, zygomatic process. All right, let me bring up my pen. All right, so I'm sure you guys can see there's a little prominence sticking out right in there. That is called the zygomatic process. Each temporal bone has one of those. The reason it's called the zygomatic process is this bone right here that kind of looks like a Z is called the zygomatic bone. That's probably my favorite bone name, because it sounds like something you would buy off of a cheesy infomercial at 3 o'clock in the morning on when you wake up when you're watching after falling asleep while watching TV. Zygomatic. Buy this zygomatic knife for $19.99. So the zygomatic process, though, is a feature of the temporal bone. Okay, and it connects to the zygomatic bone, and that's where it got its name. And it really does stick out. So what you think of as your cheekbones over here and over here actually consist of the zygomatic bone and then the zygomatic processes of your temporal bones. And I'll kind of rotate that around because you can see how there it is. Zygomatic process over there, zygomatic process over here on the left-hand side, sticking out. All right, mandibular fossa. What does that mean? All right, fossa, this is our first use of the term fossa. Fossa means a depression or an indentation in a bone. Do you remember condyle was a rocker? A condyle was a rocker-shaped feature like that. A fossa is a depression type feature that a condyle usually sits down into. It's the where it's forming the joint with another bone, where it's going to have some sort of rocking back and forth motion. All right, so what do we mean by mandibular fossa? Let me clear all of that. Let me deselect. Got a pen mode there. Deselect my temporal bones. All right, that's your mandible. You may have heard that used before. That's your jawbone. And you guys know that you can flap your mandible up and down like that. So you kind of have an up and down motion going on, and that is more or less, that's a rocking motion that's taking place. And so how that occurs is you have a depression right in here called the mandibular fossa, and that connects into a feature right in here on your mandible on each side called the mandibular condyle, and that's what allows your mandible to flap up and down when you're flapping your jaw. Let me keep zooming in here for a second. I'm going to deselect. Let me select those two things. Those are dense regular connective tissues that are forming part of the joint between the temporal bone right here and the mandible right in here, and that's right around where that condyle on the mandible comes together with the mandibular fossa on the temporal bone. Is any of this reminding you of anything yet? Do you know anybody who's had TMJ, temporomandibular joint disorder? If they do, that's what's going on. They usually have a weakening of the ligaments. Ligaments join bones to other bones. And if these ligaments weaken, then that mandibular condyle, you have a rocker-shaped feature right in here, can pop out of the depression you have in the temporal bone. You get that jaw popping, and that can wind up getting damaged and inflamed, and it swells, and you have a lot of pain associated with that. But that's what TMJ means. You have a problem there going on with this joint. Let me hide those ligaments, because now we can actually see the rocker-shaped feature right in there that I'm highlighting with the cursor. That's the mandibular condyle on the mandible, which we'll be coming back to later. So let me highlight that and hide it. And now hopefully you can see that right in there you've got a depression. And that is the mandibular fossa, in which that condyle sits inside and rocks back and forth. All right, so if we're labeling in here, right there, mandibular fossa. All right, next feature, styloid process. Actually, I'm going to skip down to number 8 on the list for temporal bone for a second. Do you notice how you've got an opening right in there? All right, that is your external auditory meatus. And it is meatus and not meatus. It's meatus. Guess what you have right there? Your ear. The external auditory meatus is going to be an opening that you have in the temporal bone, and that's the opening through which the auditory nerve passes. So the auditory nerve on each side is a cranial nerve that's responsible for dealing with your sense of sound. It's also involved with your it's responsible for your sound sensation. So that's an opening for that nerve that you have there in the temporal bone. Of course, you have that over on each side if you rotate the temporal bone around. All right, and then let me do this. Let me kind of rotate it around this way. All right, let me zoom in. So there's the external auditory meatus. Meatus is another name for opening, so it's just called a meatus, though, instead of a foramen in this case. There's your mandibular fossa. And you notice this little thing here that kind of looks like a fang? That is called the styloid process. Right in there. All right, and so remember how I was telling you guys, whenever you see these strange thickened areas or outgrowths on bones, that growth gets stimulated by things pulling on the bones in those locations. So you have muscles that are attached to the styloid processes of your temporal bones, and it stimulates the bone to grow and form that pointy type projection. Styloid, like pen stylus, or this is a stylus that I'm using to write on my iPad over here. That's where it got its name, because the early anatomists thought that looked like a pen stylus. If we rotate around here on the left-hand side, yeah, you can get a really good view there. Styloid process on the left, styloid process on the right. There's my external auditory meatus here on the left, and then of course that mandibular condyle in the left would be buried in there deep to those ligaments. All right, mastoid process with sinuses. Let me zoom out. All right, so right there on the left side, rotate it around. Right here on the right-hand side, you have a thickened area of the temporal bone on each side, and you can feel that with your fingers. If you take your fingers and go just posterior to the ear, you can certainly feel that the bone is thicker there. We've all noticed that before. And that is called the mastoid process. It's thicker because you also have the muscles that allow you to do this type of motion with your head are attached at that location, and so it thickens up a lot on anybody because of that constant motion of our heads. You have sinuses inside here, so you have mucous membrane line compartments inside the mastoid process that are called the mastoid sinuses. And maybe you've heard of somebody before who's had mastoiditis. That means that bacteria have gotten inside those compartments and are causing an infection in that location. It can be very painful, like if you press on it. Maybe you've had that happen before. You're pressing on this and ow, it feels painful. You may have had a mild case of mastoiditis where you actually had a little bit of an infection going on in there. It's something to be careful about because if bacteria get into that location, they actually have access to the brain from there. There are passageways for them to enter the brain from that location, so you have to be real careful if you do have an infection in that location. All right, next thing on the list, we have the jugular foramen and the carotid foramen on each side. So let me get rid of my pen drawings there. Guess what passes through those openings? We said openings, that foramina are openings for blood vessels and nerves and lymphatic vessels. So guess what? Your jugular foramen, the jugular veins pass through those. Those drain deoxygenated blood off of the brain and send it back towards the heart. The carotid foramen on each side, that's what your carotid arteries that are bringing oxygen-rich blood up to your brain pass through. Moving upward from the neck. All right, and you'll learn about those arteries and veins when you take Biology 202. For right now, though, we just want to take a look at where these openings are located. All right, so if I kind of zoom in here on the underside of the skull, let me highlight. There's the left temporal bone. So we're looking at the underside of the skull, so it might take you a second to realize that this is the left-hand side. And if you look right here, all right, hopefully you can kind of see this. You might be able to see it a little bit better over here on the unhighlighted right temporal bone. There's your styloid process right there and right there. All right, if you kind of go on a diagonal that way, or from over here a diagonal that way, that is your carotid foramen on each side. Right there and right over here. I'll rotate it around so you can get some different views. Right there and right over here. Don't think, yeah, actually visible body will actually highlight those two openings for us. That's the carotid foramen on each side. It's also called the carotid canals because the carotid artery actually travels through a little tunnel inside the temporal bone there on each side, which is called the carotid canal, and then it actually exits on the inside of the skull over in this area on the inside. So it's actually got a little tunnel that it's passing through in there. If you had a real skull, you could stick pipe cleaners through there and actually see how that all works, which is pretty cool. Then how about the jugular foramen on each side? If I kind of rotate the skull like that, right there, you've got that kind of triangular shaped opening right there, and on this side over here, each of those is the jugular foramen. So it doesn't really look like a circle, it looks more like a big widened crack that you have there. All right, let me see if I can highlight better for you. So in blue there, that's the carotid foramen, or the opening to the carotid canal on each side. And then right there and over here, those are your jugular foramina. Foramen is singular. So right there, and then over here. And again, that's your carotid foramen over there on that side. So in terms of just some reference points, again, if you can find the styloid process is easy to note. It looks like a fang, and if you kind of go in a diagonal like that, or like that, you find the carotid canal, and if you go medial that way, medial that way on the underside of the skull, you'll run into the jugular foramen on each side. All right, then the last thing, so we did external auditory meatus. We said that was the opening in the temporal bone through which the auditory nerve is going to pass right in there. Let me highlight that bone over there on the left-hand side. Actually, let me not highlight it yet, because what I want to do is hide the parietal bone there. All right, so there's my left temporal bone, and do you see how you've got an opening right there? That is actually, I don't think my visible body here, I'm sorry, I don't think my, there we go. All right, do you see how you have, or change my pen color here. Come back to red. That opening that you have right there, that is called the internal auditory meatus. And you have that on each side. So if you can imagine the auditory nerve down inside the temporal bone, this is if you actually felt that with your fingers, it's pretty thick. It's passing through a tunnel there, and then it comes out on the inside because that nerve needs to connect to the brain. So that's the opening on the inside of the skull for that. All right, and if I actually kind of rotate this around, that one. Okay, so I've removed both parietal bones. So you can see internal auditory meatus. Hey, they're actually lighting that up for us here in visible body. You can see those on each side. Okay, so those are all of the features of the temporal bone. The two temporal bones are fairly complex in their shape and structure, so it took a little time to go through those features. All right. And then other than doing the last video clip for the cranial bones will involve the sutures and the fontanelles of the fetal skull, and that will finish up the cranial bones for us. Cranial bones are probably the most complex part of the skeletal system, so if you're doing well with this part and working through well, you should do very well with the rest of the skeletal system.